me get seated and we're going to get started with our next session here. So we have Andy and Adam from WebMD Ignite. Andy Waldrop, he is the VP of Digital Experiences at WebMD Ignite. Right, you got to say Ignite in there?
Yep.
Yep. He leads the product and engineering teams focused on solutions that improve customer experiences across the patient journey. Andy has been an innovator in the digital marketing space for over 15 years with leadership experience consulting with some of the largest health systems in the U.S. Prior to WebMD, Andy led a full-service digital marketing agency from inception to successful acquisition, leading all aspects of digital services. And then we have Adam, who is a senior web developer at WebMD Ignite. He is a full-stack developer, constantly looking for ways to implement new tools that can be used to help jumpstart new and existing businesses. He enjoys researching, investigating, and creating nice-to-have solutions to problems. What's even better to him is then to actually develop and build these ideas out in real-life products and services that users will find not only to be useful, but valuable as well. So we're going to turn it over to them.
All right. Thanks, Jeannie. All right. We have a couple of things we want to show and not a lot of time. So we're going to do a real demo-heavy kind of thing. And I would just say hold questions until we get to the end. And if we don't have time, then I'm here the rest of the day, happy to answer any questions as we're going through stuff. So actually, before we jump into the use cases, so WebMD Ignite, we're the portion of WebMD that works with folks who provide care. So health systems, Amazon, One Medical, things like that. That's kind of our focus. We build software solutions, websites. We have a lot of content options as well, so giving them like medically reviewed content library, videos, animations, illustrations, things like that. All right, so we have 4 use cases we want to go through today. One will be using AI search and how that's built with Health Hub. So this is like a comprehensive medical library. How to generate automated local search pages. So this is an SEO-focused effort. AI-assisted provider bios. So if you have a doctor finder, guarantee you not 100% of your providers have a bio. So tool for that. And then sneak peek on a proof of concept, something we're working on as well. So with that, I'll just jump into this real quick. So Health Hub, this is a comprehensive health library. This is something that like a health system or care provider would license and give them that full suite of content, videos, illustrations, that this could be integrated into their full site or it can be a standalone property as well. Big library of content, multiple languages. As you can imagine, without AI search could be kind of difficult to navigate, right? An average consumer might not know the procedure name or what that exact condition is called, so enabling AI search really changes that piece. This product and how it relates to Drupal is we've actually built this on top of Drupal. So we have our own kind of APIs for content and then a Drupal CMS that a client can actually log into and manipulate content, make changes, promote things that they see fit here as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Adam to just talk a little bit about how this is built, high level, and then we'll go to a demo.
Thanks. Yeah, so without going too far into the weeds and to show the demo, really show the proof in the pudding, the focus is around creating a contextual, relevant model that's focused around healthcare. So from the ground up, the data model being focused around medical content and a RESTful API, and then syncing in that with Drupal. So making sure that fields are up to date, that they're properly sourced and imported. We use OpenAI behind the scenes to create our embeddings, which is a flexible model to use other LLMs as seen fit. So introducing into Grok and some of the other big players like DeepSeek. And after that, then we import all those embeddings into Pinecone. So with unique identifiers for all pieces of content from all of our taxonomy systems to our content, different content types. So the Pinecone vectors are aware of not only the large language models that consist of them, but that they're identifiable and they can be pulled out to show something relevant on the screen. So kind of blending that vector relevancy with structured data and joining in what you get the best of both worlds from a structured data model inside of Drupal into a relevant and somewhat intelligent system from vectors and relevance structured data. So.
All right, so let's take a quick look at this and how this kind of works in practice. So here we have Health Hub. This is the demo site. This search bar, again, is going to tap into AI search. So I'm from the South. We're in Atlanta. I'm going to start with one of my favorite misspellings, which is diabetes, right? And so this is just a good example of like misspellings is a great use for AI. AI can understand what the intent is there. They can return results that are relevant to that particular query. When we first built this, and some folks that were here last year, I did a similar demo of like first showing kind of where we were going with this. One of the issues we had is if you just have a vector search database, you might not have all the facets and filters. So that same ability where Drupal gives you good structured data, in this case we've got media types, topics, other things. We couldn't just take that vector database and then say, actually I just want the videos. Or maybe I have a different section of the site and I want a different return of results. So being able to use both, right, both the vector database as well as kind of making that system aware of a node's full structure, our taxonomy terms, our structured data, was some of the work we've done in the last year to make this a little bit tighter. Couple of other things that are important with this search that I think are great, especially for healthcare. Searches where someone's not plugging in the keyword, like what surgery do I need if I don't want to have children, right? Something like that. Misspellings in there won't matter, right? You can see it's giving me relevant results back, vasectomy, hysterectomy. If I added something more like for men, like it can change again and actually make that more relevant for the user. Live demo, boom. So that you get an idea of just like, that's really, really hard to do if you don't have some AI relevance understanding of like, what is the intent behind that query? How can we match that to a term? So really powerful. And Adam mentioned too, like the way we've built this, we're using OpenAI today for the embedding model, but we've built this to where that can be a really interchangeable layer for us, where if we want to test out, the new NVIDIA embedding model, like that's a 15-minute change to set up another index and actually have a different place to test. Last thing I wanted to show was kind of search within a section. So one of the UX learnings we had in we've had a health library licensed to clients for about 10 years, was that in today's session, a user usually just stays in one section of the site. Like, so today I'm interested in exploring diabetes. Very unlikely that you're going to jump around to now look at pediatric care, now look at orthopedics on today's session. So we wanted an ability to say, okay, we've got the global search on the homepage, but if I'm in a major pillar, is what we call it, or if you think about a news website where you might have like world news, politics, sports, things like that, that you could search within a section. So using the same AI vectoring, we can say, okay, now only search heart health articles, and now if I search something like chest pain, it's not going to return me content from the whole library. It keeps me kind of relevant to a particular section of the site. So again, this was a really important thing that we gained by combining the vectorness and the structured data model from Drupal to be able to do that. So whirlwind tour, we'll do that, and then 3 swipe, Adam? Yeah, there we go. Nope. Again?
No.
Again? I don't know. You got to get me back to the presentation.
The same browser, Andy.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Next use case, so automated local search pages. Made up phrase, what is this? These are pages that are search optimized for a specific focus area with relevant results in a given localized market. So where this plays in healthcare, so I worked at Health Grades for a long time. I'm now at WebMD. We do this a lot. I'll show an example here. So in the URL here at the top, this is an example. We're in Atlanta again. This looks like a search results page, but this is a real URL, right? This is a hard page on WebMD with a readable URL, readable title tags, readable headlines and descriptions that a search engine can crawl. They cannot crawl every variant of your doctor search with live filters. There's too many combinations of options for a search engine to really do this well. So WebMD does this, US News does this, Healthgrades does this, and it's all for local optimization. So when a user's in this market and they're searching, cardiologist Atlanta, Georgia, or best cardiologist Atlanta, Georgia, that they can show up high in the results. We've built a way to do this just directly within Drupal. Now, DX Engine is kind of our branded flavor of Drupal that we use, but in this example, we allow the user to choose a vocabulary. So you can do this for any of the different vocabularies we have. We'll choose specialty. We give it a starting point. So our sample doctors are in Denver. This is using Google Maps to kind of create what's called a centroid point. You give it a radius, and then how many providers would you like to include per term? We've built some options here to say, what do you want to call your providers, like doctors or providers? If you have nurses, you might want to choose providers. And then we'll just do include a generated page introduction. So when I click populate search results, well, the first thing it does, it gives me an interface of saying, here's the matching result sets. So here's the terms from my specialty vocabulary. Here's how many providers actually match that criteria. And then once we get beneath 3 providers, it will uncheck those boxes there. Now for the demo, I'm just going to choose like 2 of these. Let's do like pediatrics and family medicine. And then I'll click generate. And this is going to create nodes that actually live on the Drupal site. It will create readable breadcrumbs. It will create sitemap links for these as well and make that part of the site. So here's kind of my 2 links. And if I click into this, this page, when it wants to load, come on, demo site. There we go. So this page was created. It's got a title tag, H1. It has a functioning search bar with terms plugged in. It has a description. Then it has matching results for that particular query. If I were to scroll to the top, there's a URL that's been generated for that page. And if I click back up in the breadcrumbs to, let's say, the city of Denver, you can see here's a whole bunch of other ones that we've created for every condition, procedure, insurance is accepted, languages. So the reason this is important is we know that users are going to Google more than ever to just do their query. Like, I don't need to go to the hospital site and then search a doctor and then filter my results. If I can just pull out my phone and say, find the best cardiologist in Atlanta who accepts Cigna, right? And so this gives you better opportunities to rank for all those different queries by having dedicated pages. Now, if you click any of those doctor results, it goes to the page. If you change your query on that page and hit search, it will give you full results that you can manage. It's just creating a lot more ways to enter into your site, and we're using AI to do this. All right, Adam, next use case, get me back to the deck. So there? Nailed it. Getting it now. All right, AI-assisted provider bios. Adam, take it.
So another common use case that we found that we could leverage and reach for AI for an assist, for help, is especially at scale, larger health systems not having complete data, and especially personalized data, so things that a provider maybe is the one responsible for writing. So a lot of intense labor that goes into it, but then there's a lot of pieces inside of a provider profile that a bio can essentially be derived from. So kind of dipping the toe in the water in a way and using an assist to help generate these bios at scale for a provider profile that doesn't have that specific field called out, while they may have other ones available to them, is really the focus on this piece. So basically sum that up. We'll go right into the demo, as you said, demo heavy. So flip up a provider profile here, another demo site, Dr. Rand. As you can see, number of fields that we have specifically called out: accepting new patients, virtual visits, locations in which Paul works out of, about me, education, board certs, the list goes on and on. But as you can see, we have a glaring hole here where this about me, I thought this was a front-end bug, but we really do have a visual to pull out the title and then have everything fall underneath, but there should be a bio section in here. So for example, of the AI used to generate that, inside of the sources tab that we've created, this is our framework as far as modeling out where data is coming from, and ingesting that, importing it into Drupal, making sure that the fields are mapped out, and essentially saving and updating that. So we get this mapping down here to where we can choose to import and manipulate all fields, or we can go by the field level. So when we click in here to the select drop down, the ability to choose from where this data is going to be sourced from. Obviously, we're focusing on OpenAI right now, but that particular kind of subset there, I think, can be evolved a little bit more, and with plans of accepting different different LLMs and using different kind of outputs. I think there gives some additional potential to see what may be better than others, what particular models are maybe going to generate better outcomes. But for right now, we can go through with OpenAI, and we'll click compare sources. So what this is making a call to OpenAI, it went and got all of the data for Paul, and then sent it and asked OpenAI to generate, based off of a pretty simple prompt, just give me a pretty simple, unopinionated, for the most part, kind of best effort bio. So you can, from inside of here, you can manage your sources, and you can say, I want to rock and roll with that one. Hit select, and then save, and hopefully it doesn't blow up. It should. We get a message saying, I think in best effort, to illustrate where we're coming from, that this is potentially not suited for business purposes, and definitely review, so use that caution, I suppose. But then we can go flip back to Dr. Paul Rand, and that hole down there should be field. Yes.
Yeah. So this one in particular, we're feeding in the doctor's specialty, where they went to school, their board certification, what locations they practice, and then saying, hey, generate a bio from this known information. In this use case, we're also telling it to keep it to a certain limit in size. Future state, that could be customizable with tokens and prompts and some of the stuff that was just demoed before, right, where you could open it up and allow a little more flexibility. Our use case to start was, we work with a lot of systems where like half their doctors don't have bios. We know that hurts their SEO, and that this seems really lightweight in the sense that this is not significant medical information that needs medical review. This is information that can easily be edited, and that these are typically providers that have not provided something. So even if they look at it and say, well, I'd like to change that, that's a great feedback for the marketing team to start getting these. The last part is totally optional, right? So you don't have to use this tool, but it's there if you want the option. And we've kind of built in that compare screen, so you can get a preview of it before you click save and kind of publish that use case. All right, so last use case, a sneak peek in the lab. Adam, let me set you up right here, and then you'll take it over. So at the start, we talked about the vector database, right? And we walked through some consumer search use cases. The start of this is kind of flipping it around and going, okay, now you've got this vector database that has this huge relevant understanding of all your content. What if your site admins could use that? Like, what could you do with that to like improve your content or better understand it or ask it what to recommend? So Adam's been working on something here that, again, proof of concept, not ready for prime time, but pretty slick. And I think there's a whole world of how can we use AI in the admin flow to be smarter as marketers or site builders to make smart decisions.
Yeah, so this is very much piggybacking on a lot of the technology that Andy showed in the initial Health Hub demonstration, as far as being able to intelligently pull relevance from structured content. This is not the link I wanted to go to. Here we go. Okay, so in the admin of our site, in the back end, we've created what we're calling AI Explorer. So it ties into the structured data inside of Drupal, so all of our content types, all of our taxonomies, but then it also references our vectors. So vector relevance by text, so long text search, but then also relevance by individual content nodes and pages themselves. So the search that Andy did with diabetes, pretty good one. I like that. We could do something like that. Do I want to just say like I have talking about an admin experience. So maybe we'll say, who on this site can treat diabetes? I'm going to spell it a really different way. Did I hit that? Nope.
There you go. No.
Well, that's all right.
It'll work.
That's the point. So we're taking an input. So this is something that you can visualize on the front end of Health Hub, where we have that search box. And then in the results set, we're bringing back the response that AI is saying that it found in the database. This may be a little bit of a brutal attempt here. As you can see, my question wasn't very good, so the AI wasn't really aware of it. So this is an attempt to kind of safeguard this to where we're not always having to go out and hit that vector database. So whenever you hit this input, it's going to say and ask the AI, is this a question that I do need to go back to vector to determine relevance on? So let me try a totally different question. You can see I do have this one over here, which was some of the similar questions, so we'll just run with it. The AI that detected that this particular question was relevant and did require a kind of another round trip to go and check the vector DB to say whether or not we should go and check it. So this related section down here is basically the response that we get back from the vector DB, and the percentage is the strength of the match of relevancy. So how similar is one thing to another, and it's sorted up and down. In terms of an admin experience, this may particularly be better suited being in the reverse. So instead of saying the most relevant at the top, perhaps it should be the less relevant at the top, because then we can identify from an admin content editor perspective what particular content needs to be updated so that it will show for a given query.
Yeah, so real quick here, like one use case we've had as we've started to roll out AI search is we'll get the inevitable client question like, well, why does this page not rank higher, right? Like you've got all these pages, you got 400 on diabetes, why isn't this one higher, right? It gives you a starting point to then say, okay, well now I can at least see what the AI is returning from like a score point of view. And I think one of the very cool things that can be done here is this experience can also be attached to the node.
Correct.
So then you can kind of take that learning, okay, this score is 70, I want it to be higher, ask it, like, how can I make this more relevant for that query? And it can give you an answer back.
So to kind of show that, I'll do another one. That's, I need a pediatrician.
While you're doing it, this data set does have health content and providers, locations, other things included.
Right. And inside of the AI, inside of the tool, there's also the ability to, right now it's searching, so this is all disabled, but you can filter out and change what content is going to be returned. And that's not all done just on the client. That's because of the way that we've worked with our embeddings and then putting them into the vector database. They're all tied based off of what type of content there is. So this is a light lift on the server and then also on the client side. But from these providers that were brought back, basically the relevant pieces of content are brought back to the system, and then it gives that to AI and then says, AI, please generate a response in a conversational kind of format and method. So then we can jump into any one of these and just kind of start to investigate, what particular pieces of this content is helpful. So kind of quick snapshot overview of what this particular demo provider has. And then jumping into the edit field, we've extended the node edit field to where now the AI Explorer here is on the left. So you can, I mentioned text search versus node level search. The AI interaction on the individual node level search is going to be relevant to all the content that's specific here. So any data that we're interacting with inside of this particular conversation in this view is going to be relevant to this provider. So I could say something, well, there's also prompts here that are focused around the site editor, to where it's how can this be better? How can the SEO, what is it lacking? What can be improved? So this is just basic chat. So we could say, I don't know, I want to increase my inner page linking. What content can I use from this site for Dr. Robin? Live demo. Let's see what happens. Again, this is pulling relevancy from this particular provider, so it has access to all these fields, and it's still cruising. Uh-oh. Here we go. So very similar kind of UI. It's a chatbot UI meant solely to be just something that an internal admin would have access to use. Uses all the technology that's on the front end from a visual, site visitor, what they would see, but then more geared towards how can we improve the content and how can we use AI to help us do so.
Yeah, so next steps was something like this, being able to connect this with either ECA workflows, automators to actually get recommendations, choose to apply them, and use it. I think that's where we've been discussing going, but just a completely different use case, right? Like, how do you take this, okay, we've built the vector database, now we've got better understanding, there's a consumer use, continuing to explore the back-end uses there.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Let's go back to
Go ahead.
the last thing I wanted to show. Now
Other
is
way.
Other way.
Nailed it. That one.
All right. This tab set. All right, there we go. All right, so I talk with health systems pretty much all day, every day, and I wanted to provide this list because I think it's really important. So AI is a difficult thing sometimes to talk with a health system. We talked about it earlier today too, of sensitivity to using AI, when you can use it. What I've found is when you can walk into the conversation with some clear questions on this list already answered. So like, in the use cases that we have, Health Hub, it's published online. It's an entire content set that Google has already crawled 1 million times over. This is not sensitive data. It's not proprietary in the sense of being able to share it or using it for a search engine. We're not sharing or touching any PII or PHI within that use case. We're not making medical recommendations. We're referencing relevant content. We have the ability to turn it off. You don't have to use it. And AI, when used, it is marked in the tool of what's generated by AI and what's linked to AI. So just being able to walk in with like a one sheet of, hey, the thing we're talking about today, this is kind of the starting scorecard. Happy to answer any other questions you have. Like, you'll move forward at least a full security meeting with a health system on just having those things answered, and then they're not focused on this. Like, I recently got back from a healthcare conference and saw all these crazy uses of AI within the clinical setting. And that's really what they're worried about, is like AI to read the radiology scan, right? Or AI in the ICU to improve the nurse workflow. Those things need tons of scrutiny, right? But when you can clearly lay it out like, hey, our use case is like improving the website consumer experience, not making medical recommendations, just helping people find relevant content, you'll cruise through the process and getting it approved much faster. And that is it. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take some time to talk at your table about AI. So maybe some of the things that, you know, Chris has talked about, or they've talked about, or Jennifer and Jesse have talked about. Some of those questions you had on the end there, like what are your stumbling blocks that you have internally to get to use AI? So maybe we combine some of the tables. Maybe you two can go back over there. And then there's 3 of you over there. That's probably fine. But just talk a little bit at our tables. And, you know, what is coming up for you in AI and where you know, where do you want to go? What are you excited about? Anything you want to talk about. And then after that, we'll break for lunch. So, and I believe lunch is going to be out in the foyer. So, right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.